Very good. Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome you to the July 7th meeting of the LCTCS Board of Supervisors Executive Committee. Thank you for joining us today. Before we begin, I'd like to ask LCTCS Board Coordinator Sarah Landron-O'Kline-Peter to review a few points, given that we are holding a virtual meeting of the Board Executive Committee and live streaming to YouTube. Sarah?
Thank you, Dr. Sullivan. As a reminder, members, the meeting is being live streamed online. Please be mindful of that. Those joining by remote access are asked to keep yourselves on mute during the meeting and use the raise hand feature if you have a comment or question. When recognized to speak, unmute yourself, give it a few seconds before you make your comments, and return to mute to avoid background noise during the remainder of the meeting. If you have any trouble with your technology, please call or text my cell phone. You may view the board items via the links posted on the LCTCS website that was emailed to you. We will have to conduct a roll call at the start of the meeting, and each motion will require a roll call vote for approval. Members, please state your name when making a motion, and the motions must be made by sound and not gesture. Public comments can be made during today's open meeting conference call at 877-810-9415. Access code 6499147#. That information is in the notice of meetings posted on the LCTCS website. Any public comments received during the meeting will be read by the board secretary or designee, and all public comments must include an agenda number, a name, and a brief statement. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes per comment. And Mr. Chairman, I return the floor to you.
Thank you, ma'am. I'd like to call this meeting to order of the July 7th, 2021 LCTCS Board of Supervisors Executive Committee. Chairman or Supervisor Murphy, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please, sir? He's muted.
He's on mute. Give him just a minute.
All right, now we can go. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Ms. Sarah, would you please conduct a roll call?
Happy to do so. Chairman Price.
Here.
Vice Chair Mount.
Here.
Second Vice Chair Jackson.
Present.
Supervisor Toops is absent but may join us at a later time. Supervisor Hardy is absent at the time of roll call but will be here momentarily. And Supervisor Murphy is here. He led us in the pledge. So, Mr. Chairman, we do have a quorum of the board present.
So we lost your audio.
Okay, Mickey, we lost your video. Are you still there, Mickey? Sarah?
Let me just frozen. It looks like he's frozen. Let me send him a text. Just a second.
Sure.
Joy, are you there, Mr. Murphy, right now? Can we hear Mr. Murphy now? No, sir, we cannot.
There he is. He's on mute.
Leaving and coming right
We actually have
back.
video.
Am I back, Paul?
Yes,
Yes, sir, you're good.
Mr. Chairman, can you hear me?
I can hear you,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
I don't know what happened.
All right.
Yeah,
But you,
doesn't matter as long as we got you back. Okay. We ready to go now?
Ready to roll, Mr. Chairman.
All righty. On the point of
Okay, we
chair,
good.
okay, on the point of
Right.
chair's privilege, I ask that items D and E be reviewed in succession and take up one vote for both items once the review concludes. Is there any objection? Hearing none, I would like to proceed with item D, which is the approval of the meeting agenda for July 7th, 2021. Members, you have received the agenda, and in accordance with Louisiana Revised Statute 42-17-1, as presiding officer, I have determined that the matters on this agenda are considered critical or time sensitive and should not be delayed. On item E, which is the approval of the meeting minutes from May 26, 2021. I would like to request a motion to approve the agenda and the consideration of the matters on it, item D, and to approve the May 26, 2021 meeting minutes as presented, item E.
So moved.
the motion by Ms. Mount and a second by Mr. Jackson. We'll conduct a roll call vote. Supervisor Price,
Yes.
Supervisor Mount,
Yes.
Supervisor Jackson,
Yes.
Supervisor Murphy.
You're muted.
Can you hear me now? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Let me say something. It's bad overcast here. I don't know, but my audio and video is just coming and going, so y'all just have to bear with me.
We will happily bear with you and you.
Reoccurring, I guess, well,
Yes, sir. We're up to date and we are happy to be patient with that. I will note for the record that oh wait, I'm sorry.
He's frozen again. There he is.
Yeah, following this roll call vote, I will note that the outcome of the vote ensured that a minimum of 2/3 of those present voted affirmatively to adopt the agenda and the consideration of the items on it. Mr. Chairman, the motion passed.
Okay. Okay, I believe Dr. Sullivan.
Sure. I'll just a couple of quick items I wanted to address as it relates to the president's report. As I think we discussed at the full board meeting in June, the legislative session has now wrapped up. We have a number of very active items that we're following up on. Most notably, I think you're aware that Senate Bill 148 was signed into law by Governor Edwards, creating Act 457. The MJ Foster Promise program is now officially a program of the state of Louisiana. I want to point you to an email that was sent out a little bit earlier today. The governor, the president, and the speaker, all three, even in the very contentious political times that we're dealing with now, all three of them wanted to hold a ceremonial signing for this effort. I think that speaks volumes to the importance of the program, and we look forward to having that bill signing, ceremonial signing, take place on Tuesday, July 13th. That's next Tuesday at 3 p.m. at the Capitol in the governor's press room, and that again is on the 4th floor. So again, it's July 13th, 3 p.m. at the Capitol, governor's press room on the 4th floor. I hope you'll be able to join us. Would ask that you RSVP to Sarah. There's limited capacity in that room, given all that we're dealing with in the Capitol these days. So please let us know if you'll be able to join us for that. Moving very quickly to other updates as it relates to the follow-on to the legislative session. We do have a budget item that you have before you today. I know you've had an opportunity to review those. This is without a doubt, in my time back in this system since 2009, the best budget that we have had as an organization. And I want to again thank the governor, the House, the Senate, all of our legislative stakeholders for just a tremendous job of ensuring that the mission was funded this time at a level that allows us to be able to do more on behalf of the people of Louisiana. So we're very excited about that budget. I want to jump down now, if we can, to a little bit of the particular detail. The last time we were together in in April, the board authorized that the colleges would submit faculty pay plans that would then be implemented effective in the current fiscal year. That is the 21-22 fiscal year. You authorized me to approve those plans. The colleges submitted those plans last week. We have conducted that review, and all college pay plans have been approved at this point. I will tell you that there were a number of priorities that you identified that the colleges were very keen and included as a part of their plans. First and foremost, the dollars that came from the state of Louisiana, all of those resources were spent on teaching faculty. None of those dollars were spent on staff, administrators, but all of the state funds for faculty pay raises went to teaching faculty. Point number two, we did distinguish between those faculty that are teaching in the hard skills areas, as Mr. Murphy would refer to them, or the high demand areas. Those faculty continue to be on a path of earning a higher salary than those faculty that are in the general education areas. Now, I want to be very clear. All of our faculty are valuable. All of our faculty are critically important to the future of our students and to our mission. In the current environment, given how difficult it is to find employees, particularly those in high demand fields, we are finding it more and more difficult across time to find those faculty who teach in areas like P-Tech, like nursing, welding, machining. You go down the list, it is very difficult for us to find those faculty. We are doing everything in our power to ensure that there are faculty in those classrooms running those programs that are going to help advance students and help graduate more of our students. So excited about that faculty pay plan, set of plans, and also excited to see where this is headed. I want to remind you that you as a board set as a priority several years ago faculty salaries, and this year's plans are a follow-on to the priority that you set. The good news this year is that there was money provided by the legislature specifically for teaching faculty. The colleges continue to try to find the resources to increase pay for both our staff as well as for administrators. And for many of our colleges, those pay plans will come at a later date as they try to determine what revenue looks like from fall enrollment and the like. So covered a good bit of ground there with follow-up on our legislative session as well as our faculty pay plan. Let me pause and ask if there are any questions before we go to the next item. Okay, hearing none. I do want to state or just remind you, if you have not been paying attention to the ongoing dialogue in the legislative arena here in Baton Rouge, there is a considerable discussion going on around a veto session that would take place July 20th, I believe, through the 24th. By most accounts, I think what we see at this point is a pretty significant likelihood that we will, welcome, sir, that we will see a veto session. I think it is unfortunate that it is taken away from a number of things that are going on right now, both budgetarily as well as programmatically, that we should be able to spend more time focusing on. But nonetheless, that is certainly the purview of the legislative body. And I think we'll kind of wait to see how things play out over the next couple of weeks. I do think, regardless of what happens there, whether there is a veto session or not, it will continue to amp up the level of dialogue between administration and legislative body. And I think certainly higher education and our community and technical colleges will have to deal with that. And so I encourage each one of you to be aware, to continue to stay posted on what happens with that veto session. I think the best news of all is there are no bills among the 26 that the governor has vetoed that deal with higher education. There's potentially an impact from the Jay Morris bill, the Second Amendment related bill that potentially could have an impact on our college campuses in terms of carry, concealed carry, but that is a distant issue for us. So I think it's positive that we find ourselves in the place where we are right now while there's a lot of other dialogue going on. So any questions or thoughts around that aspect of the closing of the session? All right, hearing none, I want to wrap up the president's report on a very positive note. So many great things have been going on over the last 2 to 3 weeks. I want to thank Supervisor Smith and the team down at Fletcher Technical Community College for just an amazing ribbon cutting or groundbreaking ceremony that took place there a week or so ago. That facility will be just a gem in that community. The level of commitment, having the hospitals that typically compete day to day, each hospital, Terrebonne Regional and the Ochsner affiliate in that part of the world, both contributing $1 million to see healthcare programs expanded in those communities. Really, I think demonstrates the power that our colleges have of bringing people together. So really excited about that one. The second item I do want to mention to you in terms of events, we have a ribbon cutting ceremony that is scheduled for next week. I believe that will be July the 14th, is it, Katie? That's fine.
No, that's in August.
I'm sorry, August. There is a ribbon cutting ceremony that will take place in August at the Delgado West Bank campus. And we have the now, and we'll get that out to you.
We have not had feedback. Mr. Murphy is still trying to do it. Here we go. Sorry about that. Mr. Murphy, we'll ask that you unmute your phone when you need to speak because there is a bad feedback. If you're using both your phone and your computer, if you could mute your computer so that when you speak, there will not be a replay of the speaking, that would be great.
All right, with that, Mr. Chairman, I will, that concludes the president's report. I'll come back to you.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, there is one other item I want to mention to you.
All right.
Of the most importance on today's agenda, there is an item that we'll get to in just one second. I want to point out for everyone's benefit. That is, I believe it's item G2. It is a lease agreement that we've worked on for a number of months. There's a K-12 school that is interested in using the facility. They're in Jennings. I think there's just a big opportunity for Sewella to be able to relieve itself of that facility. As we know, we have a new campus in Jennings that we're very proud of. But I wanted to specifically call that one out because this is a critically important item, time-sensitive item. As Supervisor Mount, I know you're aware of this one as well. Just wanted to make sure everyone is aware. All the items are important, but that one in particular, we had to have today's meeting in order to be able to pull that one off. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll turn back to you.
Okay, thank you, sir. On point of chair's privilege, I ask that items G1 through G5 be reviewed in succession and taken up as one vote for all those items once the review concludes. Is there any objection? Excellent. I'd like now to present the committee of the whole action items. I believe, Joe, is that your job? Item
Yes, sir. I have the pleasure of that.
Good. Welcome to the meeting.
Thank you. I'd like to thank Sarah for giving me a mild heart attack when she transferred us all over. I thought we lost the connection to everybody. So thank you, Mr. Chair, Mr. President.
Just
members of the
keeping it
board.
busy for you, Jim. Keep you on your toes.
I don't have much to lose already. Okay. Thanks. With that said, members, we have before you the FY 21-22 operating budgets. Well, we call it the operating budget for the LCTCS entities, but in essence, what we have traditionally always done is brought before you the allocation of state funds to our colleges. These are not the formal budgets, but just basically the allocation of funding. And to give you an idea of what had occurred during the session, with the appropriation and how we compare to where we were last year's appropriation. At some later point in time in September, we will bring before you the operating budgets of our colleges who currently at the moment are closing out the fiscal year 21. And while they close out fiscal year 21, they will begin working on the fiscal year 22 budgets, which will contain the fiscal year 22 operating budgets and also the prior year fiscal year 21 actual expenses and revenues. So we'll give you a more detailed information in terms of where colleges are allocating resources by expense categories and by functional categories in the sense of instruction versus academic affairs and things of that nature as compared to the prior year. To give a bit of a snapshot, as Dr. Sullivan mentioned, this has been a very successful year for higher education in terms of funding, and particularly also for the LCTCS. As compared to where we were last year at this point in time, we have approximately $31 million, $31.7 million in additional state revenues this year over last year. What makes up that number, I'll give you some of the large increases. If you may recall, last year we had a means of financing swap that occurred of $15.6 million, where the state basically reduced our general fund, but gave us some CARES Act dollars to kind of backfill that reduction for CARES Act payroll-related expenditures. That money was restored back into this year's budget. So we have $15.6 million in CARES Act restoration funding being given to us out of the general fund. We also have a $6 million increase in a formula allocation from the Board of Regents in terms of, again, the general fund. We have the $5.5 million in faculty pay raise funding that was provided to us. Smaller amounts include the $2 million in mandated cost increases, and other things such as a $1 million for precision agriculture, which was given to us. And lastly, $1 million that was provided to the board office to provide for small capital improvements at the 4 campuses that are transitioning currently from Central to Sewella, BIPSI, and Louisiana Delta Community College. So with all that said, just to give you an idea, again, the increase is $31.7 million. We did have some adjustments to the self-generated budgets of 2 of our colleges to account for lower than anticipated enrollments. Or actually, it's not enrollments driven, it's actually bringing their budget more so in line with what they actually expect to collect. So they're getting rid of excess budget authority. And that's primarily related to Bossier and some at Sewella. Members, I don't know if anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to answer any, if you may have any. If none, staff recommends the board approve the fiscal year 21-22 operating budget allocation of the LCTCS colleges and board office.
Okay, we'll wait to vote on all these once.
Correct. Yes, sir.
We're done.
Yes, sir. Moving on to the next item, we have a lease agreement, as Dr. Sullivan mentioned, on behalf of Sewella Technical Community College and Christ Bridge Academy. This item may look familiar. The board prior in 2020 for the college to sell this facility to the city of Jennings. That has not happened, and obviously they are moving on to another partner who's reached out to them to first off to lease the facility. Again, this is the old Jennings campus that is no longer needed because through the capital outlay process, they had a new campus built in that area. So the old campus is no longer needed by the college. In essence, they are wishing to first off to lease the facility to Christ Bridge Academy temporarily while they work with them to make plans to sell the property to them. So in essence, today's action is authorizing the lease initially, and also authorizing the system president on behalf of the college to work with the chancellor to negotiate due diligence and work necessary for the sale of that campus. So as such, staff recommends that the board authorize the president and the chancellor of Sewella Technical Community College to negotiate and execute all documents to lease and potentially sell the former Jennings campus to Christ Bridge Academy, a local nonprofit organization. Lease and conveyance documents for this lease and potential transfer must be filed with the local clerk of courts and the state land office.
Questions from anybody? All right, Joe, continue.
Yes, sir. The next item that we have is a servitude. We have two servitude agreements coming up. This one is a right-of-way agreement from the LCTCS on behalf of Sewella Technical Community College to Entergy Louisiana LLC. They're currently constructing the Culinary Arts, Gaming, and Hospitality Center through Act 360 funding, and we initially provided for a right-of-way to them, to Entergy back in 2019, in April 2019. Entergy has come back to us to ask us for a slight modification to that right-of-way to allow them to install a transformer to this building. So that's what this board item deals with. Again, this is going to provide for a transformer to be placed at the rear of the Culinary Arts Building that will be connected to the main power distribution line. It wasn't originally anticipated when we passed the original item. This item makes that correction. So staff recommends the board authorize the president to execute a right-of-way agreement between Entergy Louisiana LLC and the LCTCS on behalf of Sewella Technical Community College for connection of electrical service and the continued maintenance of the utility distribution equipment to be installed to service the Culinary Arts, Gaming, and Hospitality Center. The legal description and technical drawings illustrating the area to be transferred will be maintained in the office of the Chief Operations Officer. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? Item 4.
Yes, sir. Rolling right along.
Yes, sir.
This is a servitude or right-of-way agreement from the LCTCS on behalf of Louisiana Delta Community College to Entergy Louisiana LLC. As some of you may recall, at the Winsboro campus at Louisiana Delta Community College, we installed a pad for the heavy equipment operator training program. This program provides training to the community in developing skills to prepare for gainful employment in an economically challenged area. This request, if granted, will provide the right-of-way for overhead lines to be installed and to connect utilities in this new facility across from the main campus. And in essence, what they are asking for is a connection to provide utilities to a portable building, a temporary building that is going to be brought on that pad itself, just as a housing area for faculty and staff of the college to help oversee that training that's going to occur on that pad itself with the heavy machinery and so forth, to provide a point of operation, so to speak, on that pad. As such, staff recommends that the board authorize the president to execute a right-of-way agreement between Entergy Louisiana LLC and the LCTCS on behalf of Louisiana Delta Community College, Winsboro campus for connection of electrical servitude and the continued maintenance of the utility distribution equipment to be installed to service the heavy equipment operator training program. The legal description and technical drawing illustrating the area to be transferred will be maintained in the office of the Chief Operations Officer.
Any questions? What's not to like about that, huh?
That's right.
We love it.
Item 5, Joe.
Yes, sir. And last and not least, as many of you may recall, or obviously you do know this, is that we've through the years done consolidation, mergers, and transfer of campuses among our colleges over time. But yet signage, highway signage at many of our locations still reference old and outdated campus names. And so as part of the process, for us to go to DOTD, they require that we have a resolution on behalf of the board, in essence, authorizing us to proceed with requesting highway signage at our campuses. To give you some context, I was quickly going through the board item, the attachment, and to find out the depth and the breadth of the signage that we're requesting. In essence, this signage is being requested by 10 of our 12 colleges, affecting 26 campuses across the state, involving 36 signs, because obviously campuses could have 2 or more signs depending on the directions of the highway where you're coming from. So it's a pretty substantial update to highway signage across our state. And with that, we will be able to move forward with engaging the local district offices, the DOTD district offices, to get that signage created and established. As such, staff recommends that the board authorize Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development, DOTD, signage to be erected on properly identified LCTCS college campuses in accordance with the attached recommended list. And that list is on the agenda, on the board item.
Okay. Any questions from anyone? All right.
Mr. Price, before you request a motion, I would like to note for the record that Supervisor Toots has joined us as well as Supervisor Hardy. They were both not present during the start of the roll call, but we did want to note that before we get a motion on all of these items.
Absolutely. I'm glad to have them both. At this point, the chair would like to recommend that the board approve agenda items G1 through G5.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Knapp, and a second by Mr. Jackson. We'll do a roll call vote to approve those items. Supervisor Price,
Yes.
Supervisor Mount,
Yes.
Supervisor Jackson,
Yes.
Supervisor Toots,
Yes.
Supervisor Hardy,
Yes.
Supervisor Murphy.
Yes.
Fantastic. Motion to approve items G1 through G5 has passed.
I'd like to now request a motion to enter executive session to discuss items G6, settlement authority and current litigation, and G7, update on potential litigation. Ms. Sarah?
Yes, sir. So roll call to enter executive session. Supervisor Price.
Yes. Do we need a motion and a second on that?
Oh, I'm sorry. We do need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Mapp,
Second.
second by Mr. Hardy.
Okay.
Supervisor Price,
Yes.
Supervisor Mapp,
Yes.
Yes.
Supervisor Jackson,
Yes.
Supervisor Toots,
Yes.
Supervisor Hardy,
Yes.
Supervisor Murphy.
Yes.
Fantastic. We are officially in executive session at 3:33 p.m. I would like the members of the board to all exit out of this Zoom call and enter the one that I sent to you in your email, and we will be joining on that momentarily.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, this is Stephen Toops. I'm going to have to jump off. I've got a 4 o'clock call that started 4 minutes ago. Is that going to mess up the roll call vote?
Stevie, we have on record that you came back with us, and so that will suffice for the roll call vote.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Still
Sorry to
waiting
jump.
on Mr. Murphy to get here, but he'll be here anyway.
Thanks, David.
All right.
Sorry for the timing. Thank you, sir.
Katie, is that still good to go? Can you guys hear us okay now that we've reconnected? Perfect. We're still waiting on Mr. Murphy to get here. Let's see. Katie, are you moving in or you want me to? I do. Okay. Thank you, Landon. So members of the board, we are still live on YouTube, so I'd like to remind that we do have all of our members present. So Mr. Chairman, I will call roll to reestablish a quorum.
Please. Yes, ma'am.
Supervisor Toops, we do have it noted on record that he was here for us to reinstitute the quorum out of executive session.
Yes.
Price,
Yes, ma'am.
Supervisor Mount,
Yes.
Here.
Supervisor Jackson, can you hear us, Supervisor Jackson?
I'm here. Yeah.
You can hear us, great, thank you. Supervisor Hardy,
Here.
Supervisor Murphy.
Here.
Fantastic. Mr. Chairman, we do have a quorum of the board back out of executive session, and it ended at 4:05 p.m.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Sarah. I would like to reconvene the meeting and state that no votes were taken, nor was a consensus reached during the executive session. Move on to item 6, which is settlement authority and current litigation.
Yes, sir. In lieu of Joe Marie joining us here, I'll go ahead and read the recommendation. Staff recommends that the board authorize the system president and board counsel to negotiate a settlement with a former employee at South Louisiana Community College to resolve a pending litigation issue.
Okay. Y'all heard the recommendation? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Jackson,
Second.
second by Mr. Hardy. We'll do a roll call vote to approve that action.
Please.
Supervisor Price,
Yes.
Supervisor Mount,
Yes.
Supervisor Jackson,
Yes.
Supervisor Hardy,
Yes.
Supervisor Murphy.
Yes.
And that motion has carried favorably.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Item 7 was an update on potential litigation with no action is recommended. Is that correct, Dr. Sullivan?
That's correct.
Okay. So moving right along, I would like to present the consent agenda for consideration by the committee.
Yes, sir. Staff recommends that that the committee approve the consent agenda, which consists of items H1. Which consists of item H1.
Okay.
Motion for that. So motion by Mr. Hardy,
Second.
second by Ms. Mount. I will do a roll call vote for that. Supervisor Price,
Yes, ma'am.
Supervisor Mount,
Yes.
Supervisor Jackson,
Yes.
Supervisor Hardy,
Yes.
Supervisor Murphy.
Yes.
And that has passed, Mr. Chairman.
Very good. Is there any additional business come before this committee?
Yes, sir. I would like to note for the record that there were no requests for public comment on any of the 3 opportunities for people to comment publicly.
Okay, good. I would like to remind the committee that the next regular meeting of the board is August 11th of 2021, and it will take place in person at our regular meeting location at BRCC. Are there any other announcements to come before the committee? If not, I would request a motion to adjourn.
Motion by Ms. Mount and second by Mr. Murphy. And you do have a motion and a second for adjournment, Mr. Price.
Okay, so do we need to roll call vote that, or we just get out?
No vote.
No vote required.
Thank y'all. very
Then it'd make you vote somehow.
Thank you all. Hope you have a great rest of your days and talk to you all soon.
Y'all too. Y'all take care. See you soon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Bye.